Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here. In today's video, it is finally time. I've been talking about this video for months and months. I'm going to show my spending. Why, Dan, on a Pokemon business channel, are you going to show your personal spending, your household spending? It's extremely relevant. I get questions all the time. How did you feel confident enough to quit your job? Am I ready to quit my job? Should I open an LGS? A lot of these different conversations will be touched on directly or indirectly throughout this video and future ones that will come from this. I teased before, but this one is the spending video. Next week or maybe 2 weeks from now will be the video on how I prioritize more the saving side. So the spending side, then the saving side. Let's jump right into it. I will talk about all the videos that I will be tying into. I'll probably be linking some above my past videos from my backlog. But yeah, I just want to start laying the table with the standard breakdown for household consumer expenditures. Housing 1/3, transportation I'm covering it up but at 16.8%. Food 12.8%, personal insurance and pensions 12%. Everything that you see there, that's just like the standard average thing. This was in 2022 based on the information coming from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Depending on where you look, depending on the year, it's somewhere in the $60,000 to $70,000 range. This is showing right here, only percentages on the screen, but it is showing approximately $73,000 annually. So not that everyone should try to match that exactly. Not that if you're above that, you're doing something wrong. If you're below that, you're doing something good. That's just a number, right? That's just the average number. Take it for what it's worth, not that much. Statistics, averages are not that meaningful to the individual, but I just getting some kind of bearings where I land as a household. I think it's an interesting number, but don't take any like drastic things due to it. So what I will show next, let me make sure I have it ready. So here. So this is, as you can see in the top left, you should be able to see. Let me see if you can see. Okay, you can see my cursor. So January 2016 to December 2016. I married my wife in 2015. I have kept annual records so 2016 was the first year we were fully married. We got married in the middle of mid-late 2015. So ever since then, my wife and I used to sit down monthly, quarterly, and we used to go over. Here are the inflows, here are the outflows. Today, I'm just showing the spending side. So one thing that this won't cover too, it does show taxes. Taxes are solely property taxes. I do not have income taxes on here. I will touch in a little bit why I think it's reasonable to not include those for today. I think those will be more relevant in the next one. And but anyways, so 2016, I'm going to take you on like an 8-year journey. 2014 is when I got back into Pokemon. I don't have enough data for the full 10-year journey. I wasn't yet married, so things were drastically different. But 40 grand. I mean, 40 grand. That home, I was paying a mortgage then. Auto and transport is the light blue. I was paying car payments. My recollection, my own personal recollection, I thought we paid off our car before we got married, but that was actually student loans. We paid off our student loans the year that we were engaged before we were married. And unbeknownst to me, or I recently rediscovered the fact that we didn't pay off our car until one of these years that'll be coming up soon. You'll see a big chunk. Groceries, $7,300. Pay close attention to that. So today, I'm a household of 4, much bigger household. We've got two kids as well. We've got a dog and 2 cats, which we got the dog in 2017, so I guess we didn't yet have the dog. Every channel that you watch, finance channel, whatever it may be, people will call things differently. To me, groceries are, and I won't get like too deep into this unless someone wants to ask in the comments. To me, groceries are like, that includes all the toiletries, that includes all the diapers and stuff for the kids, that includes all the pet food, anything I buy at Walmart, basically. Occasionally that might include some amount of clothing, some amount of like whatever. I might buy a TV at Walmart, and this might misclassify it. Instead of putting that into shopping, that might misclassify it into groceries. So I don't get too stressed over having every penny properly allocated into the right category. This is how much I spent for sure. Maybe some of these breakdowns are a little bit broken down, I guess. But that's close enough for me. So yeah, what I did here, shout out to Simplifi. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't have an affiliate link to share with you, but it's a Quicken product. very nice visualizations. I used to keep all this in a simple Excel. But we're done with 2016. Let's go to 2017. You notice that my biggest category, auto and transport. So if you click into that, you can actually see car payments, $11,000. No, we did not have $1,000 a month payment. We just chunked it down. We chunked it down all at once. So what had been in 2016 a car payment that totaled to about $4,000 a year. I mean, $4,000 a year, 300 something bucks a month. We chunked that down all at once to pay off the car in 2017. I've talked many times on my channel how I'm very anti-debt, very all that stuff. So that's where in our journey we were able to pay off the car. The only remaining debt at this point would have been in the mortgage. If I go into home, you can see some home improvements, mortgage, taxes, those go out into a separate category. But yeah, I think this was really interesting to me. It's been... So 2.5 years I've fallen off the horse on doing this. My wife and I used to sit down quarterly, monthly, quarterly at minimum, sometimes monthly. And we did not do it all of 2023. We did not do it all of 2022. Maybe the first 2 months of 2022 or so, but we have not done it all of 2024. So when I used this Simplifi, I actually had to go in and you log into your bank, you log into your credit cards, boom, boom, boom. It pulls in the last like 12 months easily. But I had to go through and I had to take my 2016 through 2021 documentation that I'd gained myself through Excel. I just uploaded those Excel files in and boom, it populated everything here. A little bit of massaging, a little bit of smoothing the numbers. It classified some things in a weird way. It tried classifying my Walmart as shopping when most of it's groceries. So a little bit of smoothing, but like overall it was pretty easy. And again, let me tie in some more here as I go along. What is this Pokemon business channel doing talking about his spending? One video that will kind of spin off of this. I'll refer back to it at some point. Why I never intend to open an LGS. The way that I'm doing business out of my own home, I'm actually able to subsidize my home costs. So there might be a couple people out there that think like, well, where's this line? Where's that line on his budget? And I guess as of this point, I'm not yet full-time, so maybe there's more things there. And maybe once we get towards 2023, 2022, when I was full-time, we might think like, how did he spend so little in gas? How did he spend so little on XYZ? Some of that I've mentioned is subsidized. I have a 2-vehicle household. When I was a chemical engineer and my wife was a teacher, she still is a teacher, we had a 2-vehicle household. Both of them, as commuting vehicles, we had to pay full shot for. We had to do all the maintenance, all the gas, all that stuff on our personal credit cards because they were commuter vehicles. You can't write off a commuter vehicle. But once you own your own business, you are able to subsidize your driving. The driving that is ordinary and necessary required for your business, only the percentage that is. But we have one vehicle that is entirely business, one vehicle that is entirely personal. So once we get into the later years, you'll see my automotive, especially once, I mean, here in 2017, we paid down. And no overall too, like if you exclude the big chunk that we paid via automotive, via our car payment, we only spent about 40 grand this year. So pay attention to the spending because it goes up over time, and inflation and lifestyle inflation, hedonic adaptation, all that stuff. How all these things weigh in. It's some combination of all of them. So 40,000 in 2016, 40,000 in 2017. When you exempt the $12,000 of accelerated car payments, dining and drinks. They call it that. Again, some people will classify things in different ways. That's restaurants primarily. In future years, it actually breaks down restaurants to like sit down and fast food. I don't do that as much. Simplifi actually has more categories than I used to personally have too. And some of my categories changed over time. But yeah, you see auto and transport, home, groceries, 6,300. Let's go into 2018. This was the year we had our child. So in 2018, we did have the mortgage. We had a little bit of home improvements. I guess the groceries might have ticked up slightly. Not really, because my son was born late in the year and he probably wasn't eating. We didn't do formula. We didn't have to do that, but we did have diapers and all that stuff, so that would have factored in the groceries. Health was probably a little bit higher than normal, just because we had to pay a decent amount. I mean, we do have good health insurance through my wife. At the time, we were actually on my health insurance. And you're only seeing the spending side. You're not seeing the saving side. Our income was quite lower in 2018 because my wife took a fair bit of paid family leave, maternity leave. She actually didn't have, it was unpaid maternity leave through her job. In 2018, I took maybe 6 weeks, I believe, in 2018 of paid family leave, paternal leave as well. So our income in this year was a fair bit lower. Our expenses were a fair bit lower, even though we did have to spend a fair bit more clothing, a new child, and then diapers and all that too. No formula or anything like that. But yeah, there's 2018, the first year with a child. So surprisingly, we actually stayed flat, 40, 40, 40, if you exclude the big chunk car payoff. 2019. So this is a big year. One new category that you see jump in, home improvements. So I bought and I closed. So I actually paid 2 mortgages for the last 2 months, November and December of 2019. We closed on our house. I believe it was November of 2019. And home improvements we redid between November 2019 and February 2020. So you will see a rollover into 2020. While all the hype, while all the mania was happening, we had one child in 2018. 2019, things were starting to heat up a little bit. 2020, the rocket ship went off. We bought a second house in late 2019. We rehabbed it for 4 months. We spent about, in this year, we spent 13 and a half. In 2020, I guess we'll see what we spent. 2020 is interesting because you see $150,000 expenditure. You see $190,000 expenditure. This is a future tease to a video. I paid off my house with Evolutions. I paid off my house with XY Evolutions booster cases. Not completely. I actually don't remember off the top of my head how many exactly I had and how many I sold and what I sold them for. But that will make an interesting case study video comparing Evolving Skies to Evolutions, comparing it to other things and how I navigated it, why I bought, why I sold, when I sold. But this was probably also $1,000 EVs, $1,000 Pikachu, $6,000, $7,000 PSA 9 base unlimited Charizards. But yeah, the thing I wanted to demonstrate, if I go into home, 14,000 again was home improvements. So for 2 years, I had 14,000 and 14,000. I had $28,000 in home improvements. Off the top of my head, not having a perfect memory, I would have guessed that I had about $40,000 that we put into this house that we bought before we moved in. We redid all 2.5 bathrooms. We redid painting and fixtures, light fixtures and stuff throughout. We did some other stuff too. Like we tore off a deck, we tore out a pool, fair bit of stuff, but it amounted to about $30,000 in actual materials and stuff, and then about $10,000 that was probably labor that isn't reflected here, that would have been paid via cash that I had from somewhere that I paid. So some amount of cash purchases over these years are probably not fully allocated for, but I figure that roughly they're offset by, once we get into a later year, I don't know that I'll show exactly what makes up your groceries, what makes up your dining and drinks, what makes up your entertainment, your travel. I'm not going to get that into the nitty gritty of it. Again, it is a Pokemon channel, but like just recently, I went to a Rangers game. Through Ticketmaster, which I would have classified as entertainment, I bought $1,500 of Ranger tickets. Well, only $500 worth was mine. I got $1,000 cash in. So that cash, someday when something breaks in my house, just recently I put in a new furnace. I think I paid $3,500 cash to that guy. So that was accumulation of like past cash intakes that I got for whatever reason. So yeah, some of those aren't covered, but then also the expenses are artificially high due to other things that I'm just buying for someone else and then getting cash back. That doesn't happen that much, but probably roughly balances out. But yeah, these are the numbers that, aside from the sugar mama, which we'll talk about the sugar mama thing more a little bit as we get to like 2023 spending, because what she makes and what we spend are almost perfectly in sync. Back here in 2016, she was making slightly more than this. Her gross number, we'll talk about gross versus take home. This might be a lengthy video. We're 14 minutes in and we have a ways to go. But 2019, again, if we take down the renovations, if we take out the $14,000, say we would have done some amount of home improvements, maybe $1,000, $2,000 otherwise, because we had in the years prior, we're still at that $40,000 number. So even having a kid for 4 years straight, 3 of them without a kid, I guess 1.5 of them with a kid, we were able to keep relatively flat spending of $40,000 per year. Pretty surprising to me, pretty interesting to me how flat we were, and then just you wait, we did not stay flat since. A little bit more, some amount of inflation. We have had crazy inflation the past few years, but some amount of definitely lifestyle creep, some amount of conscious. One thing that I'm big about, conscious spending. One thing that I've said many times, I'll continue to say, is A lot of people, they know how much they make, and if you ask them how much they spend, well, it's probably, I'm paycheck to paycheck, so it's probably exactly as the amount that I make is the amount that I spend. But they have no idea where it goes. Whether they make 50,000 or 100,000 or 200,000, they might say, well, my mortgage is this, so there's, say it's 2,000 a month, there's 24,000. My car payment's that. This is. They might get to where they can allocate 20, 30, 40% of it. I've actually had this conversation with some friends, some family members, and a lot of people, they don't know where half of their money goes. Not that I know where every penny goes, but it's like being able to chunk it out into these big categories. Can I tell you exactly how much this was Walmart versus Price Chopper versus Target versus wherever else? No, but like, can I tell you how much of it was grains versus vegetables and fruits and meat? I mean, the vast majority was probably meat, let's be honest. The fine meat of Walmart's butcher counter. But yeah, so I'm not getting crazy into like, I know where every penny went and I can tell you but generally I can put it into a bucket. Like roughly $7,800 in 2019 was spent. In 2019, it was a two adult household with one child. And again, that's 3 pets, a dog, 2 cats. That's all that stuff. Some people would separate that out into pets. Some of my stuff actually does separate out into pets, but it's pretty much if we were to exempt home, so take out 150,000 from 190, you're at that same $40,000. So again, another year where we're just spending $40,000. It's pretty crazy to me. And interesting thing is that we did inflate a little bit because, as I mentioned, we had a car payment here. In 2016, we had a car payment. In 2017, exempting the car payment, we spent 40. So in 2016, we counted it. And in 2017, we exempted it. So we did inflate some. In 2018, we had no car payment entirely. We haven't had a car payment since. I don't intend to have a car payment again. I'm actually updating the Catch 'em All Collectibles mobile sometime soon. So we will be getting a new car, but that will not be showing up here because that will be a business expense. So yeah, 2020 aside, groceries inflated. Groceries inflated over these 4 years from 7,000 to 9,000. Is 9,000 insane? Let me know. Let me know for a family of 2 adults, 1 child. Soon next year. Well, 2020 we actually had late in the year. We had my daughter, so this was by the end. It was a 4-person household. 9,000 to me feels really high, but I've had this conversation again with some people. Oh, how do you spend that much? We only spend $500 a month, but we spend $100 a month on toiletries. So well, we call that groceries, so like that accounts for $1,200 a year right there. And then again, pet food, things like it's just, you need to make sure you're comparing apples to apples if you care to compare. Again, some people might not care to compare, so it doesn't matter, but just giving the context there. 2021, another one of those numbers. So in 2021, we actually had this was a rounded number. So the way that I had clumped it, I actually, for some reason in my tracking in 2021, I clumped in home improvements and I also clumped in all of our utilities. So like somehow that got clumped together. I just had to roughly approximate it, separate it out. So in 2019 and 2020, we did a full rehab of the house that we bought. In 2021, we were buying a kitchen table, a new projector. We were buying a computer desk, bookshelves. We were buying like a lot of stuff like that. I think a new mattress probably included in that. Again, some people might call a mattress something aside from home improvement. To me, that's a home improvement. Buying furnishings, buying things for a house. $12,000 for groceries. So is that pandemic? Is that, I don't know what that is. Did we go from choice steaks to prime steaks? No, not really. I don't know entirely what that is, but groceries went up. I guess mostly pandemic, but maybe not all. One thing that I include too, like if we have, in 2021, we didn't with the pandemic and all that, but when we have big parties, I mean, I used to throw, back before we had kids, we used to throw one party every summer and then some smaller ones here and there maybe. We might spend $1,000, $1,500 throughout the year buying a bunch of, like buying buying a bunch of brisket, buying a bunch of pulled pork, throwing that on the smoker, buying a couple kegs of beer. Like, we'd have a party that had a decent little expense to us that all just gets classified in the groceries. But that was not the case for 2021, so that's explaining some stuff, maybe 2016, 2017, before it was higher. And then somehow, you see too, my utilities went up a fair bit. Back in these days, the utilities were $3,000. You can't see it over here, but you can see it on the pie chart. And our house is about double the size. Our utilities are almost double the cost. Even though our house is significantly newer, it's a lot more well insulated, but still bigger house. I think some amount of inflation into the heating costs, and not quite double, but pretty near double. Yeah, that's 2021, near that $40,000 mark still. I'm scrolled down here. I should not be scrolled down. So yeah, we're scrolled up now. So in 2022, what are we doing here? $16,000 in groceries? I don't know how to explain it. I talked to my wife about it. I'm like, what have we been doing? Let me actually show. So that's 2 years straight. It's not like it's a 1 year anomaly. We went from 12,000 in 2021 to 16,000 in 2022 to 16,000 in 2023. I don't know how to fully explain it. I know that it's pulling in all the Walmarts. I know we bought a couple TVs at Walmart, but we were not buying $2,000-$3,000 TVs. We were buying $300, $400, $500 TVs. I know that I bought, again, going back to what I said earlier, I bought a couple TVs for my grandparents from Walmart. They paid me cash. That cash went to when I paid for a furnace that's not listed here. So that seems really, really high. I don't think we're actually spending $1,300 a month, but I can't confidently say that we're not either. That's going to be one thing. Like, I'm not going to set a firm budget. I'm not going to say that's ridiculous. We can't spend more than $1,000 a month and put my foot down and we spend $1,000 a month, $250 a week, however we want to allocate it, and then we don't buy anything else. We switch to ramen. I'm not doing that, but that which can be measured can be managed. Now it's like, hey, 2 years, we hadn't been doing this at all. You need to kind of keep an eye on things to make sure they like make sense. And one, make sure your card's not fraudulently being used. I am one who likes to have my stuff on auto pay so that I don't accidentally miss deadlines and stuff. And I've not looked at my bank account statements, my credit card statements in like too long. And I looked at them closer. I remember I asked my wife, I'm like, we did not spend $90 at McDonald's 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. And she's like, oh yeah, we did. I treated all my students to like, for whatever, having a good year. She like bought McDonald's for her whole class. So I was a little bit nervous, like, oh man, maybe someone's literally just been local to us, like skimmed our credit card numbers and has been spending. Nope, it's just us. It's just us. So inflation / lifestyle inflation, some part of both. But this, I mean, same thing goes for a business. Same thing goes for a business. I'm actually likely going to open up a new Simplifi account. This is all my personal credit cards. This is my personal bank account. I think I'm going to use, and tying into like, why is this crazy guy talking about his personal finances with respect to a Pokemon business YouTube channel? I think I'm going to use Simplifi. I might have to create a new account, or maybe I can do it within one account. I don't entirely know. I've only had this for a couple days now. But I'm really looking forward to tying this in and like, hey, when it says Mad Al, when it says GTS, classify that. Like, I'm just going to revamp all the categories. I'm not going to have utilities, groceries, entertainment, shopping, dining and drinks, auto and transport. I will have auto, I guess. I will have so utilities, some of the things, the way these things interact with the business, some of my utilities via business use of home, whether that's taken in a simplified route. I don't think I go the simplified route. I think I go by actual expenses. So some percentage per the square foot that I use for business only versus the square footage that we live in. I actually take a percentage of our utilities and the business pays for that. And I take a percentage of our property taxes and the business pays for that. Some amount of home maintenance, I don't know how that ties in, but yeah, so I will actually use this program to some extent to like, help keep track of things and how much did I spend through this distributor, that distributor. Things that I used to do solely through Excel, I will be able to optimize a little bit and minimize my amount of work, maybe clean it up, make it prettier for my business too, because the functionality is there. This one it chunks, so I don't know, I think it goes to it turns 9 categories, one of which is everything else. If you click into everything else, it lowers it down into another, and then there's another everything else. So depending on how many categories you have for a year, and you can set your own categories. I basically go by the default. You can see right there, pets is 1,000, but that doesn't include their food that we buy at Walmart. So like that doesn't include the chew toys we buy at Walmart and things like that, the treats. But yeah, to me, very interesting. Let me try to think of some other videos. I definitely made a video before called Financial Advice, and it was all talking about keeping up with the Joneses and this and that. And I've made a lot of videos before. I'll try to remember to link a couple above where I talk about my whole ideology, my whole thinking behind finances and stuff like that. And I really got away from tracking them. And just like in a business, I think one thing, that's where accrual wins out over cash basis. If you're cash basis, as crazy as it sounds, you could be spending money year after year and you could think you're making money. You could see your cash account staying flat or going up, and you could think like, oh, my inventory is probably growing, but you might not be. You might be spinning your wheels, literally not making money, not knowing it because you're cash basis. Maybe you're just whittling that inventory value down year after year while maintaining similar cash, like losing money. But you wouldn't know it unless you're actually looking, and tracking things. As crazy as that sounds, like people might hear that and think that makes no sense. You would know if you were losing money. If you had $500,000 in inventory valuation and you did 500K in sales and your bank account ended at the same thing, cash basis, you just pay basically, you pay basically on the change in your bank account. So end of the year, you spend a bunch of money to get that lowered down. Well, if your inventory is valued at $450,000 at the end of the year, and your start and end, like you lost 50 grand on paper, right? Through your inventory going down and you making no money elsewhere. So yeah, that's why, part of the reason why I like using accrual basis. I will definitely make a video talking about the buckets next week. That's more the saving side, because one thing you might say, Dan, you're spending 60 grand. What's going on? Lifestyle inflation, you tell us not to do that. Why are you doing that? Some of it's inflation, some of it's lifestyle inflation. But what I will say, back in 2016, this was our spending. Our saving was less. I don't have handy exactly. We probably had one max 401k. If I had to guess, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we probably had one max 401k, maybe 14,000. And then we definitely would have had, well, we probably should have had by then. Maybe we didn't, because we didn't have the car paid off yet. So honestly, the first year that we maxed out IRAs and 401k, I'm not entirely sure. But if I had to guess, our spending here was 40. Our savings might have been 20. So 1/3, 2/3 spending to savings. And saving being specifically into tax advantage buckets, because in 2016 I was a chemical engineer making about 70, 75. She was a teacher making about 50. We made about 125,000. So 40 I guess the remainder that we so we spent that, we saved that tax advantage. The remainder would have just gone into our accounts. For too many years we had too much money just sitting in like savings accounts, not doing too much. I never really wanted to put too much money into a brokerage account because I wanted to fill all those tax advantage buckets. But yeah, and again, that was our gross income would have been 120-ish, very-ish. I don't know exactly. But obviously taxes after that too. One thing, the only taxes that are showing here are the property taxes. The income taxes are not shown. So on 120,000, our income taxes might have been 30. Then we might have been working with 90. So 40 spent, 20 saved, 30 unaccounted for. That 30 would have just went into our savings accounts or whatever it may be. We've got some I-bonds. We've got some various accounts like that. Why is that popping up? But yeah, that is the growth of our spending over time. It really, I would have expected this was closer to 50 if I had to guess off the top of my head. I think I've mentioned before, we live on 50. But one thing that was interesting to me, she actually makes 60. So she makes 60 gross. And what I have here a calculator.net income tax calculator. So estimated refund for 2023. If you made $60,000 and if you took married filing jointly, standard deduction of $27,700, you would have $32,000 taxable income. You would have taxes owed, federal, not state, not anything else, of $3,400. But with 2 children, you would have credits of $4,000. So in a theoretical world the whole sugar mama conversation we have. In a theoretical world where I did not work actually, and my wife was literally the sugar mama, and I was just a leech, and if I was one of her dependents along with our children, she would pay for everything. She would literally, we would be taxed negatively. A lot of people in this country, not to get into that kind of a conversation, but a large majority of people, no, I wouldn't say a large majority, a large portion of people, I think it's a minority, I think it's less than 50%, but the bottom 30, 40, 50%, whatever the number is, pay zero in taxes, pay zero or negative. So we would actually be, if our whole household was her $60,000 salary with 2 children and another adult who doesn't work, just through the child tax credits, just through the personal standard married filing jointly deductions, we would be a negative federal income tax household. So we could actually live, because you might say like, well, you can't live on a teacher's salary because you need to pay taxes. What did I just click on? You need to pay taxes, so you can't do that. Let me get this back on screen. You can't live on $60,000 because you spend $60,000 and salary taxes need to be there. Interestingly enough, we would owe no federal taxes. So that's part of the reason why I excluded it here. Even though it was unbeknownst to me, I like the idea that we are living, and we have always been living off one salary. Obviously, not everyone can make that happen, either through lack of earning enough or spending too much. I mean, those are the 2 levers you can pull. You can either earn more, you can spend less, and the rest is your accumulation, your ability to save and stuff. But yeah, that's where we're at. This is our 2024 so far. We're actually on pace for slightly less than 60,000. If you do the math, I think we're 161 days in, so 23,300 over 365 over 161. We are on pace for, no, I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? Oh yeah, times it, not over it. So we're on pace for $53,000 in spending this year. It's hard to say because we've paid $2,000 in taxes. We paid our town taxes are about $2,000. Our school taxes are about $4,000. So we have a big chunk of that left, but we've also done our Disney trip this year. Our entertainment already is $4,100. A large portion of that was Disney. So we've had some big expenses at the front. We have some big expenses coming at the back. I don't know how it will average out, but we're on pace for somewhere between 50 and 60, which I'm comfortable with. The wife was getting a little bit nervous the past couple of days, how much preparation I was doing in this budget thing. And like, did you realize our groceries are this high? Did you realize this, realize that? I don't know how to account for. I will have to look deeper into how and why our groceries were so high for 22 and 23, because we're not on pace for that. We're on pace for, I guess let me just do the quick math since I've got you here this late in the video. So we are on pace for 11,000 to 12,000 maybe in groceries. Right now our pantry is stocked, our cupboards are full, our chest freezer is stocked. I don't know. Maybe that was some portion of it. Maybe these earlier years where our groceries were less, we were working down through our pantry, down through our chest freezer, and then we just stocked that stuff up more. Like we are very well stocked. I don't think that could account for all of it, but those are the things that like you just look to make sure there's no leaks. If there are leaks, you plug them. I think this will be a video that I definitely refer back to a few times. It's one of those like not that related to the business, but it's also extremely related to the business. And one thing I will say, I will not be continuing to do Pokemon full time if I cannot exceed our expenses. So I think I started to say it and then I never finished the thought. Back here, we were spending 40. We were saving 20, maybe say towards 30. I'll know more for next week's video, or 1 or 2 weeks from now, it will be that saving video. So our spending was lower, but it was eclipsing our savings. Today, I will cover it in next week's video, talking about 401ks and IRAs. When I talk about the benefits of having a business, I'm able to save in tax advantage buckets more than that number every year. In 2023, we saved more than that. So even though our spending went up by 50% over what it was in 2016, our savings went up more than that to compensate. Our savings is actually more than half of our income. And that's something that is important to me because I have very aggressive FI goals, financial independence. I've talked about it before. With expenses of $60,000, theoretically, if you follow the Trinity study, Bill Bengen 4% rule, we would need $1.5 million saved to, obviously that's not net worth. That's housing aside, because we have 200, maybe 250 locked up in our house. That doesn't contribute to our FI nest egg. That doesn't contribute to the 4% rule because it's not making any money. Can that grow over time? Can real estate go up? Absolutely. Are we getting utility out of that? Yes, we're not paying rent or anything like that. But you also, it doesn't generate you the 8 to 10% historical returns that like productive assets do. So yeah, where we landed 2023, 16,000 in groceries. Seems insane. I think that's going to be lower in 2024. Shopping, 7,500. That's a lot of Amazon. That's a lot of clothing is in there. Electronics and books, those are just wrong. Shopping is like all of Amazon, all of Target. I don't know how to say exactly what went on there, but that's some big things, like a snowblower. If I buy a snowblower, it goes somewhere. I probably would consciously put it into home improvement, but the snowblower might be in shopping. That's a $1,500, $1,600 purchase. When we bought, we have like a $1,800, $1,600 or $1,800 we went with for our swing set. We have a swing set, like a play set for the kids with swings and slides and stuff. So I don't know off the top of my head, but some of those big years. Oh yeah, last year too. New washer, new stove. That was nearly $2,000 by itself. So I know, like off the top of my head, I remember some of these, but I can't account for every penny. That's also not what I'm trying to do. But shopping really stood out there. Oh yeah, education. So in 2022, I don't know if I talked about 2022 that well. I had to pay my former employer for part of what they had subsidized of my master's program. So that was like a one and done expense. That's not going to happen again. If you took that away in 2022, I guess I only spent 50 grand in 2022, not the 60 that I've been saying. Because if you took away that education, which is not a recurring expense, that brings me down to like 51, 52. So last year was just an anomaly. We really spent like crazy. I guess we did go to Disney. Entertainment was up there. Everything else is high. Cash and ATM. That might have been me pulling out cash to buy. So some amount of that is the furnace that I put in is being shown there too. It is what it is. But yeah, that's everything I have. Let me go back to my notes, make sure. Definitely going to talk about my why, how much is enough, the whole fisherman thing that I've talked about several times. And another thing, since I am not, this is actually going to be a good point if someone brings it up. Well, Dan, you have paid off cars. How are you accounting for the fact that you paid for those? How are you accounting for, you have a paid off house, but like house maintenance is there. So we're doing well right now. I am mentally accounting for the fact that at some point in the next 5 years, we have to put a roof on that's going to cost me 5 to 10 grand. We want to put a deck on that's going to cost 5 to 10 grand. We have the cash ready for it whenever that comes. Like if we were though, people talk about like having savings buckets planned out. We'd be paying ourselves $200, $300, $400. I guess this is more applicable to next week's video, 1 or 2 weeks from now. So I'll talk about it more there, but I do keep in mind all the big things, and one thing that Simplifi might be able to do, I can put, that they call them like sinking funds. I can put things in there that allow me to allocate, not just mentally, but actually allocate on paper, on digitally somewhere. That like we are buying a new vehicle. The business is buying a new vehicle this year. So we will have a 2-year-old vehicle and a brand new vehicle. Sometime in the next 8 to 10 years, we're going to be due to buy 2 vehicles again. So figure out roughly what those cost. We spent $30,000 on the Sportage. We might be spending 30, 35 again on the next one. Maybe more, maybe less. See what it ends up being. But yeah, roughly spending $30,000 on a new vehicle every 5 years. That has to come from somewhere. It's not reflected in here, but it has to come from somewhere. So you need to make sure if you're doing this, like you keep in context that certain things were included in the past all at once, and certain big expenses will be coming in the future too. So yeah, that's just a lot of ramblings about household spending. The video has been coming for a long time, but I will talk about, somehow linking back to this video, why I never intend, why I like the low overhead, why I like my subsidized living, having a business inside of my home. Why I will not open a brick and mortar store, likely anytime soon. Taking the leap to full time. People ask me, am I ready? This is what I needed. This is what I had. So in 2021, this was my reality. I had a wife that made nearly 50,000 and we spent less than that. So I had, on top of everything else, on top of no mortgage, no student loan debt, no automotive debt, no debt of any kind. So this is the reality that I had when I quit. And I think, again, I think that is important context to show like how I can justify doing this full time. Where you might be thinking like, oh, well, I think I can sell that much. I think I can. But do you have, and you don't need to have all this, but like this is what I have. This whole channel is just my journey, my reasons, my thinking as to why I do what I do. So I think my personal household spending is relevant to that. Let me know in the comments below. I am wrapping up now finally after almost wrapping up a couple times. Let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know if you think it was crazy, didn't make any sense. Did it make no sense, but you still enjoyed it? I'll be interested to hear if anyone falls in that camp. But yeah, give me something. Give me a money bag emoji in the comments if you made it all the way. I appreciate everyone watching. I will catch you all later.